10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All systems go.
You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by.
On the morning shift.
Anything
Could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
Well, hey everyone, welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh, glad to be here with you. Thankful that you're here with us. Getting off to a little bit of a late start this morning, but hey, better late than never. We're live on CKLU 96.7 FM on the radio, terrestrial radio that is. We're also streaming live on internet radio, cklu.ca. You just click on the Radio Player Canada app and you can stream us anytime, anywhere. If you download it, you can take us with you and listen to us on any device. So we're here, we're live, we're ready to go. We're glad to be here, although we are a little bit late, fighting with technology a little bit this morning. Technology is very interesting, always keeps us on our toes, and I actually don't mind the exercise. It just is what it is, and I'm grateful that I'm on a community radio station that allows for us to be able to be a little bit flexible. And as long as we end on time, so Earshot Daily can start the day off, and then the regular schedule takes place after that. But we had lots to talk about today, and we still do, and I want to be able to get to it all. So I'd like to welcome everyone, let everyone know that we're also live on Facebook.com/Sudbury News, YouTube.com/Sudbury News. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow the channel and the page, and we'll do our best to get your comments, if you comment, up on the screen and read for those listening, and up on the screen for those watching. And it's also found on demand on those two platforms, along with x.com/Sudbury News and our Sudbury.news aggregating website. So we'll kick it off with a little bit of weather. We'll be back with news headlines, your comments, and more right after this. Okay. Sudbury weather brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. Currently it's 11 degrees. It's cloudy out there. Today it will continue to be cloudy with a 70% chance of showers, changing to 30% chance of showers this afternoon, and a risk of thunderstorm as well. Fog patches dissipating in the morning, and the wind will be gusting up to 40 kilometers per hour, high of 17 today. Tonight, partly cloudy with a 30% chance of showers, risk of thunderstorm this evening as well. Wind will continue to gust up to 40 kilometers per hour, and then slowing down this evening to 20. Low of 11 tonight, and then Wednesday, tomorrow, cloudy with a 30% chance of showers early in the morning. A few showers beginning, and then also in the morning, and then also a risk of thunderstorm late in the afternoon. So risk of thunderstorm this afternoon, this evening, and tomorrow afternoon. High of 20 tomorrow, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, according to Environment Canada, it'll be a mix of sun and cloud with Thursday 16 degrees and Friday 20 degrees for Saturday, 23 degrees and 24 degrees for Sunday and Monday. Look at your satellite here. Just a lot of activity as of 2:30 a.m. anyways. So yes, you'll get today and tomorrow. You got your risk of thunderstorm and all kinds of precipitation. And then after that, looks like we're in for a mix of sun and cloud with rather, just moderate temperatures. So we're looking forward to that. And that's your Sudbury weather brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. We'll be back with news headlines, your comments, and more right after this. Okay, welcome back. Thanks for sticking around. Much appreciated. Thanks, guys, for being on. We have quite a normal crew size on here this morning, beginning with Northern Hillbilly. Good morning to you on YouTube. You got your Bob Johnson, who was on the show yesterday with Tom Price. Good morning on YouTube as well, Bob. Thanks for being on. And Nana, good morning, Aaron. Blessings, everybody. Heart emoji. I enjoyed our time together this weekend. So did I. Thank you so much for that. It was much appreciated. And looking forward to seeing you again this weekend. And Judy on Facebook, good morning. Marianne, good morning, everyone. From Barry, liked and shared as usual. Good morning, Sudbury. Got the rain cloud emoji. That's Monique. And Hazel, good morning. Prayer emoji sign, much appreciated, much needed. Sheila from Quebec, good morning with a smiley emoji. And Liette, good morning, everyone from Collingwood, peace sign. Marianne, stay dry. We finally have sunshine. Wow, that's great. In Barrie, possibly we don't have it yet here, but we're looking forward to having some here in the next, not tomorrow, but the week after that. And Andrew, good morning to you. Thanks for being on. Pat, good morning, peace sign emoji. Monique says, oh boy, we need rain. Wish it would rain all night and sunny all day. Well, yes, you know what? That would be a perfect world, and you never know. Maybe that's what they're going for with their geoengineering, trying to make it rain. My brother shared a really great discussion with me yesterday on a podcast, this Sean Ryan podcast, and it was a young fella who actually owns a company that is involved in geoengineering, and the government's contract him and his company, to make it rain. He's the rainmaker, if you will. And yeah, so it's not a conspiracy theory. They've been manipulating the weather for years and years and years and years and years. And I don't know why they just can't come out and just call a spade in the mainstream world and know that our weather's being manipulated. Anyways, getting to we'll be talking more about that as Sudbury. And good morning, Jerome from Valley East Industrial Park. Hope you're having a great morning. Thanks for the videos you've been sending. And this today, the city of Greater Sudbury is going to be getting together to decide our future as it in terms of the environmental policies that we make. So you may want to go down there and listen to what kind of things they're planning for you in terms of our environment and whether they're making the right decisions with the right information. You need to be involved in that. Grand Rising, Monique, thanks for being on. And Sheila says, why would they not use their knowledge to cut out the fires? Oh, for sure. That's why I think they don't really want it to be all that known, because people would be saying, it's almost like world hunger. We have the ability to wipe out world hunger. You don't think we don't? And it's the same with the wildfires. We totally could make it rain over these areas, no problem, and the fires would be out. But if people don't know it exists, then they don't really get the flack for it, right? Been manipulating the weather since the 1940s. That's Monique. Yet they can't seem to make it rain for any of the fire zones. That's Lorraine, correct. And Marianne says, well, then they can't seal the scam of climate change if they came out clean, right? Well, so there you go. So there is another element of that. And Denise, good morning, everyone. All have a wonderful day. Stay safe and healthy. Love the show. All information. Thanks. And thank you, Denise. Much appreciated. Okay, yes, I kind of figured that's what you meant, Marianne. Okay, headlines here from the, and Nancy, good morning to you. And my sign is right here. So you're wondering, Nancy was nice enough to provide a sign for Sudbury News Talk here on the radio. And it's right here, just so everyone knows I have it. And it is indeed, we are on air. I just have to figure out a way to mount it for the screen for whatever's in the shot here. So as you can see, I have limited space. I could put it on the top of the door frame behind me, but I know it doesn't show up on camera. All it looks like is a light. That's another thing too. I tried it on camera, and you can't see the on air on camera. You can just see a light. So it looks like I have a blank light. So I'll try and figure out what I could do with that as well. But if it's off, it shows up, as you can see, right? So that's another thing. I can just kind of mount it somewhere behind me. Local news coming from our local news aggregator. Interesting stuff coming out of the Sudbury long-term care home still can't admit new residents 6 months after the provincial order is issued. That's something, we have a crisis in Canada with long-term care. It was exposed during the last 5 or 6 years, right? Big time. But we have our own problems here in the city, and with this one in the South End, only been open for a year. The nursing home in the South End of the Northern Ontario city, which is Sudbury, hasn't been able to move in residents for the past 6 months because of the provincial order. Kind of under investigation, right? And that's from CBC. If you want to read more on that, you just have to get to Sudbury.news and look for that article and click on it and read more about it. Sticking with some CBC stories here, you got your, and I'll get that up on the screen for everybody. Terry O'Reilly. Are you familiar with Terry O'Reilly? One of my favorite guys in the whole world. He's from Sudbury. Marketing Hall of Famer Terry O'Reilly on the influence of his parents and hometown of Sudbury. Sudbury-born podcast host and advertising executive was recently named to the Marketing Hall of Fame. So a couple things there. Terry O'Reilly, not the hockey player playing for the Boston Bruins in the 1970s and early 80s. Terry O'Reilly from Sudbury, podcast host, radio show host, Under the Influence. And he had the other name too. I think that was his original name. He has two names for his radio show. Anyways, just not coming to me right now. But anyways, born in Sudbury, amazing. He has pirate radio. He does sound. He has a history and a background in marketing. And if you haven't heard his show on CBC yet, check it out. And I'm trying to think of, I'm just going to click on this show here. I mean on the story, because it's probably going to say what he calls the show now. And I don't know, just my brain is just not, it's just not working right now for whatever reason. So he talks about his time in Sudbury and with his parents. I fell in love with radio and the job. It really changed the course of my career. I discovered it was a feeling. It was a very freeing. It was very freeing because you could be anywhere with some great writing and some sound effects. So he jumped right into the industry. He retired from the advertising business in 2012. Speaks at conferences. We had him speaking here at one of the chamber events. I was able to reach out to him when I was a business consultant and got him as a keynote speaker here in Sudbury at a Chamber of Commerce event one year. It was really great. And he got back to me, and I just emailed him saying, I'm a really big fan. I think your show is amazing. And he got back to me right away. And he didn't, he was just a regular, average, down-to-earth guy. And, just Under the Influence. I guess he had a different name for the show before. Okay, so there you go. So congratulations to Terry O'Reilly from Sudbury. He's in the Marketing Hall of Fame, which I didn't even know they had a Marketing Hall of Fame. Go figure. They probably have a Hall of Fame pretty much for everything, I guess, these days. Okay, so what's this here? So celebrate summer at Onaping Falls Summerfest on June 21st. Enjoy a family friendly fun day in the Dowling Leisure Center. That's Summerfest. So to know more about that and all you Onapingites on the show and people out that way, I guess Summerfest is going to be part of it taking place in the Dowling Center there, the Leisure Center. So that's pretty cool news there. There was a serious crash on Highway 17 between Nairn Center and Beaver Lake yesterday. For more on that, Sudbury.com has a story, and so does the Sudbury Star, I believe. The Up Here Festival going to be coming to Sudbury with their murals this year, right? There's going to be more murals. So look out for those new murals. Actually, I don't mind the murals. I think it kind of adds some flavor to the city. It's some of them get a little political, but other than that, I don't mind the murals. Ski Hill and Lively, worth keeping open. City staff report concludes more people used the facility last season, thanks in large part to the efforts of volunteers. That's a Sudbury Star article. Now the Lively Ski Hill got, I don't know. It was amazing, the turnout they had last year compared to the year before. Here's a bit of a mysterious story coming from Sudbury Star. Sudbury's Snow Lab unveiling science's deepest mysteries. Scientists there testing theories that could revolutionize our understanding of the origins of the composition of the universe. So if that isn't mysterious and mind-blowing, I don't know what is. For more on that, you click on the story from Sudbury Star and read it. I'm very curious myself as to what mysteries it's going to unveil of. We're told it was just a big bang. We got everything out of nothing. All right, that's what's taught in our universities. And hard to believe, right? Just everything came out of nothing. One just big explosion from nothing. We got everything. It's interesting how theories get taught as facts in our universities nonetheless. So yesterday too, Highway 69 also had a crash in the French River area. A lot of crashes going on, I found this year. CBC reporting yesterday at noon, homeless and addiction hubs in Sault Ste. Marie and Sudbury face delays opening. So something we could have talked about with Bob Johnston on the show yesterday. More than 2 months after they were supposed to open, homeless and addiction recovery treatment, or HART hubs in northeastern Ontario, are still waiting for final approvals from the province to start operating. So more on that. That's from the CBC. Just click on the story. And, you know, I'm sure the city is frustrated there, wanting to put something in place to help our vulnerable population here. And they're also looking at making policies for the city in terms of the environment. And that's what's happening today. And so, you know, we'll just do a little foray into the environment so people are a little bit educated here from the show, and just they know a little bit more than they would have known. Here's a little bit on that. Oh, that's interesting how that just happens like that. Wow. Okay, so I'm just going to click out of that again, click back in, and simply just hit the volume button and hope the volume button just works.
Talk about planting trees. Why isn't Bill Gates the largest, private landowner in the U.S. now, planting trees like crazy if he's so worried about carbon dioxide? You know, he poo-poos the whole idea of planting trees as a way to combat climate change. It's just carbon markets and going to electric vehicles and all of this stuff. But electric vehicles necessitates mass mining, and a lot of that mining is in places that use child labor, or it's going to be so environmentally destructive you totally destroy the developing world, which, you know, these people on the left supposedly want to protect. You're going to totally destroy the environment. But really what it's about is controlling how much energy people can use. And if you control how much energy a household can use, you can control their economic activity. You also control how big their family can get. It's fear-driven to get people to accept policies they otherwise wouldn't accept because they're told this cataclysmic event is just down the line. And trust us, again, is the conclusion of that. There's people that agree with the narrative about climate change, and there's people that don't. And I'm not trying to really get in that space when I talk about this stuff. I'm trying to point out that the solutions are coming mostly from Wall Street. And then you have people like Larry Fink of BlackRock and Michael Bloomberg and Mark Carney coming together in something like GFAN saying, why don't we give Wall Street direct control of the IMF and the World Bank for climate change? You know,
right.
How can anyone on the left that's worried about climate change sign up on that? Why don't they talk about planting trees? Why isn't Bill Gates the largest, private landowner in the U.S. now, planting trees like crazy if he's so worried about carbon dioxide? You know, he poop. Right?
No. Trees eat carbon dioxide. They love it. And Canada, actually, if you look at it, report just came out recently that we're actually we're more than net zero already. Like, we're more than net zero. So Carney's talking about net zero this, net zero that, it's an economic thing more than an environmental thing, right? So it's a way for Wall Street people to get rich. It's a carbon economy. It has nothing really to do with saving the planet, you will find out. So while we're kind of looking at the meeting of the city, they buy into all these things coming right down from the UN. They don't really know their own statistics. They just take whatever their UN people give them, and then they make decisions that the UN wants them to make. And so you have to watch out for the sustainable this, sustainable that. So here's a little bit of education for people who might not have known really what's going on, so we can make more informed decisions. And we'll be back right after this. Again, right? It's the city making decisions based on what we're told to make decisions on from the top down, from unelected officials. And we'll just kind of show you a little bit of that right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, the distinguished author, Mr. Aldous Huxley.
Brave New World is a fantastic parable about the dehumanization of human beings. In the negative utopia described in my story, man has been subordinated to his own inventions. Science, technology, social organization, these things have ceased to serve man. They have become his masters.
Aldous Huxley's novel portrays a dystopian future under the dictatorship of a world state, where every aspect of human life is controlled, from laboratory creation to the grave. He described the story as fantasy, but later wrote, "The prophecies made in 1931 are coming true much sooner than I thought they would. The nightmare of total organization has emerged and is now awaiting us, just around the next corner."
With the rise of brain-computer interfaces and biometric sensors and so forth, all the bodies, all the brains would be connected together to a network, and you won't be able to survive if you're disconnected from the net.
All life on Earth is going to be radically changed.
It's a fusion of the physical, the digital, and the biological world. It's changing who we are.
These people have gotten to the point now where they are openly anti-human.
Everything will be monitored. The environmental consequences of every human action.
It cannot happen without digital ID.
Once the digital ID is in place, it's game over for humanity.
The ideology of a world dictated through science is deep-rooted. Almost a century ago, a movement was established in the United States, preaching that the population should be governed by an elite of selected experts, scientists, and academics, rather than democratically elected politicians. They called it technocracy.
These engineers and scientists from Columbia University promoted what they thought was going to be the replacement for capitalism and free enterprise. It's not going to be price-based economic system. It's going to be based on resources and energy, control over energy. They thought that science was the answer for everything. They didn't have any spiritual bone at all. You know, they were very mechanistic in their thinking.
The definition was clear.
Technocracy is the science of social engineering, the scientific operation of the entire social mechanism to produce and distribute goods and services to the entire population.
The movement was short-lived, but the principle never died. As we'll demonstrate, a stranglehold on policy and resources has always been the ambition of the powerful oligarchs behind many of today's world institutions.
It seems to me that there's a very strong drift in the direction of globalization, of the ultimate centralization of control in the hands of unelected officials at supranational organizations. The lust to control other human beings is a story as old as time.
They want all of the resources of the world in their pocket. They do not want you and me to have anything. It's in writing all over the World Economic Forum's website. By 2030, you will own nothing and be happy. That's an oxymoron. If you don't have anything in your name, you ain't going to be happy about it.
The World Economic Forum may have called that infamous phrase a prediction, but it translates as a statement of intent on behalf of its global power brokers.
The bigger picture is that an attempt is underway now to collapse liberal democracy and replace it with global technocracy. What I call an omni-war is now underway, which is to say that the transnational ruling class is literally, it's not a metaphor, is literally at war with the rest of humanity and has weaponized everything that it can.
This is a coup. They can remove the power from the parliament and the legislative branch and consolidate it into a monetary system which has complete control.
That control is now entirely achievable because the would-be controllers finally have the tools to execute it. Total surveillance, artificial intelligence, digital IDs, and central bank digital currencies.
The potential for social control is gigantic and potentially irreversible.
What our experts are describing is a world commanded by an exclusive group of bankers and industrialists, affecting every aspect of our lives. What we eat, what we can buy, where we travel, where we live, and all bypassing democratically elected governments. You could be forgiven for thinking this is a grand conspiracy theory, but please consider this.
The term conspiracy theory has become one of the most successful propaganda terms of all time in closing down discussion and debate. It's a thought-terminating cliche, but nevertheless, it's surprisingly effective when you try to calmly present evidence in a factual and reasoned manner.
In this film, we will present evidence that the global takeover is not only possible, it's actually happening, and has been decades in the making. They plan to commandeer land, reduce farming, and radically change the food we eat, transform the supply of electricity, and then dictate how we use it, and replace currency with a system of credits under their control. It's a classic template to win the war, take control of food, of energy, and of money. And here's the key. All three strategies are built on the premise of a climate crisis caused by carbon dioxide, a gas that is actually vital for life on the planet. So what if the whole carbon narrative was one gargantuan lie? A political maneuver to establish their brave new world.
A big lie is a lie which is told on such a scale that ordinary people simply would not imagine it to be possible.
People with empathy can't fathom that a group of people would organize and engineer this kind of mass atrocity to get where they want to go.
It should come as no surprise that financial kingpins are calling the shots. And it's certainly no conspiracy theory when banking executives spell out their intentions.
We are on the brink of a dramatic change where we are about to, and I'll say this boldly, we're about to abandon the traditional system of money and accounting and introduce a new one. And the new accounting is what we call blockchain. It means digital. It means having an almost perfect record of every single transaction that happens in the economy, which will give us far greater clarity over what's going on. It also raises huge dangers in terms of the balance of power between states and citizens.
We are shifting to a new financial system, but the general population is not shifting to a new financial system. It's shifting to a control grid.
CBDC can allow government agencies and private sector players to program, to create smart contracts, to allow targeted policy functions. For example, welfare payment. For example, consumption coupon. For example, food stamp. By programming CBDC, those money can be precisely targeted for what kind of people can own and what kind of use this money can be utilized.
A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations, and also we will have the technology to enforce that.
They're saying we can control with rules. We don't need currency anymore. And so it's no longer a financial system or a currency system. It's purely a digital concentration camp. It's a slavery system.
When Catherine Austin Fitts talks, we should listen. She's a former high-level investment banker in New York and held senior office in the first Bush administration in Washington.
There may be 1,000 models of how it could work. But essentially, you will have, whether it's a banking account or a credit card, and it can be turned off and on. So my incentive system is not you go to work and work hard and you get money. My incentive system can be based on how you behaved in the last 5 minutes, on a 24/7 basis.
CBDCs, as the name suggests, would be issued by central banks like the Federal Reserve in America and the Bank of England, not by high street banks. They would signal the end of cash, and every transaction you make would be transparent and held on a permanent database. Crucially, under a net zero regime, your carbon footprint could be at the heart of the system.
We're developing, through technology, an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker.
This can be the infrastructure for a carbon credit system. It's totalitarian control, and if people don't become aware of it now, it's going to be too late to backtrack from this. It's a ratchet system where it's very difficult, if not impossible, to backtrack.
But why is now the time for change?
Because the system is in crisis. It entered crisis in 2019. Mark Carney, he talked quite openly about how the international monetary and financial system had entered profound crisis and was effectively on its last legs.
If you study the history of how the central bankers designed technocracy, essentially when they created the Fed, they said, look, this can't last forever. We're going to need, at some point somebody's going to get hip to this game. We're going to need another system. And I will say this, because I used to be part of that, I was born and bred to be a central banker. They plan ahead hundreds of years in advance.
Predictably, the money brokers seem to hold all the cards. As a subtext, does the ruling class need to protect itself as artificial intelligence threatens mass unemployment? And what will happen to our existing assets if the banking system is collapsed and money disappears overnight? In an unknown future, one thing is certain. Digital IDs are essential to the project. If they become compulsory, data on every detail of our lives will be monitored, stored, and monetized. Nothing, but nothing, would be private.
For younger people, often it's the case that they like technology, they're completely au fait with it, they enjoy it. So they don't see the dangers that technology can bring because, like a drug dealer does, you feed people, low levels of drug where it's all fun. And then later, when you have them addicted, you feed the hard stuff and that destroys their life. So in a similar way, all of this technology is currently pretty much nice, but when the central bank digital currency comes in and the control comes in and the censorship systems, then the younger people will realize all too late in many cases that they've walked themselves into a trap.
One man who knows the dangers only too well is Aman Jabi, who was at the forefront of digital development in Silicon Valley, California, for 25 years. He left when he recognized the dark side of surveillance technology, choosing instead the peace and beauty of Montana. He's an expert in facial recognition.
It's a technique that is used to uniquely identify the biometrics of any face. So in a device like your smartphone, and most modern smartphones in the last 5 or 7 years, they have a 3D camera module in the front of the phone, which you cannot see. Within that module is a near-infrared projector, which projects tens of thousands of dots on your face. Those dots are then distorted based on the contours and the features of your face. And there's a near-infrared camera then takes a picture of that distortion, captures it, and then reverse engineers the exact profile of your face. In the longer term, facial recognition will be used to unlock your digital identity, which is going to be a tool of control for the agendas that are coming down the pipeline.
Elements of that control are already with us.
Alexa, good morning. Good morning.
You are never alone in your home, and this is why. All your devices at home and all smart appliances, they are all connected on a wireless network. Many of these devices will have cameras, many will have microphones, and so they are monitoring everything all the time. Your smart appliances are communicating with the smart meter and sending it real-time usage data. If there's a Ring camera also in your home, a mesh network is formed, and all your devices are being tracked within the home, its location, its usage, and all the data is going to Amazon servers. When you leave your home, all modern vehicles are connected to the internet, so your automobile is being tracked all the time. When you're going under a string of smart LED poles and smart LED lights on the highway and in the streets of your towns and cities, those form a wireless network and are tracking your vehicle. They are tracking all the devices on you, from smartphones to smartwatches when you're walking on the streets. So data is being collected 24/7 continuously on every human being whenever you are within these wireless networks.
And it's obviously not good for health also because of all the electromagnetic radiation.
In the long term, the plan is to pretty much lock up humanity in smart cities, which is kind of a superset of a 15-minute city.
They've sold all the state and local governments and countries that smart cities are about sustainability and the good of the city. But in reality, the language from the UN and WEF and their white papers is all inverted. So their monitoring is really about limiting mobility and no car ownership. Right? Surveillance, control via LED grid is why the smart lighting is there. Water management is about water rationing, noise pollution is about speed surveillance, traffic monitoring is about limiting mobility, and then, of course, energy conservation is all about rationing heat, electricity, and gasoline. Another concept one should be familiar with is called geofencing, and that's, think of it as an invisible fence around you where you cannot go beyond a certain point, and that will be related to your face recognition, digital identity, and access control. Your smart contracts, SoftBrick can turn off your digital currency beyond a certain point from your house. Our world has been turned into a digital panopticon.
That means you can be monitored, analyzed, managed, and monetized.
Surveillance capitalists are already making billions of dollars selling our information to big corporations, because this kind of detailed knowledge enables them to predict and influence our behavior. Worse, our children are being exploited.
There are a lot of board games and other games that are already in the market and have been for over 2 years that have cameras inside and underneath these LED screens that are observing and scoring and emotionally calibrating the faces of all the children. So are all the iPads that they use in schools. They're all manipulating children's behavior by what they display on the screens. And child data is big business. There's a concept called social impact investing, which people should read up on. If your kids are in schools, they are already being traded on Wall Street in real time. They can bet on groups of kids, whether they're going to be successful or not, whether they're going to become computer scientists or environmental engineers. So children have become essentially a commodity and have been for years with this system. And once it's fully in place,
it is going to be used to fully control the behavior of children as well as how they behave with respect to, diversity, equity, inclusivity, etc.
The Chinese have already gone one step further.
Classrooms have robots that analyze students' health and engagement levels. Students wear uniforms with chips that track their locations. There are even surveillance cameras that monitor how often students check their phones or yawn during classes. These sensors pick up electrical signals sent by neurons in the brain. The neural data is then sent in real time to the teacher's computer.
We've been drawn into this digital spy network in the name of convenience, connectivity, safety, and especially entertainment. The 3D world of cyberspace creates virtual lives that are often more exciting than reality.
Why is this technology being developed? It's all for the culmination of this digital prison from which there will be no escape.
So that's it. That's, I guess, the first 20 minutes of a hour and or almost 2 hour long documentary. So we've only dived 10% into that documentary called The Agenda. I believe Liette shared the link to the full documentary, but what we'll do is we'll maybe pick it up tomorrow. We'll talk about the UN 17 sustainable goals and how they sound really great, but behind them, not so great. It just goes into a lot of the things that we're talking about here. They sell it with a certain promise for your benefit, but at the same time, it really only benefits a few people, and a few people not only get rich, but they get more control over people. I know it sounds like a big thing. It is. It's a big thing. So, but the documentary does a really great job of connecting the dots, and I encourage anyone in the city who's watching this to watch the whole documentary and be informed. You need to ask yourself some questions about where are you getting the information you're getting that you're making policies from for the citizens of Sudbury, right? Who are making these? Who are giving you the studies? What conclusions are they coming to? What are they kind of insinuating that you should do? What kind of money are they going to give you to, institute some of these policies? Look at that. Look into these things, and always ask questions. And so for the regular citizen, we need to be informed as well, so we know what's happening in the world around us and not put on the blinders, right? I know it sounds scary, but at the same time, it's good to know. And there's knowledge is power, and understanding the lay of the land and what's going on. It's only going to be good in the end when you do know what's going on. And I encourage any reporters in Sudbury too to try and debunk some of these claims, like on this show. Look into it and watch the documentary and try and debunk some of the things that these experts are saying. These people who come from these industries and are basically connecting the dots for us, right? That's all the time we got for Sudbury News Talk today. Thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for watching. We'll be back same time, same place on the same platforms, God willing, at the same times tomorrow. And remember to stay aware and like, share, take care. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM, and ciao for now.